This is what you see the first time you open OctoPie. It lives in your N panel. You can always click Settings in the top left corner to jump directly to the Preferences. In Preferences, you can choose Editors and activate which editor you want the Pie menu and N panel to work in. When you enable an editor, OctoPie gets its own N panel inside that editor. By default, 3D view is enabled, and that is what we are going to use today. In the N panel, you can choose between 8 different Pie menus to build. Today we are going to work with Pie Menu 1, which in my opinion is probably the only Pie you will ever need, and you will understand why after this walkthrough. To start working with the Pie menu, we need to assign a shortcut. Let's set it to Q. Now you can see that more options appear for working with the Pie menu. Context is the context we are currently in. The N panel is in the 3D view, and we are currently in object mode. But if we add an object just to test this, you can see that as soon as we enter edit mode, the context drop-down changes automatically. This is the automatic version. But you can always go into Preferences and turn off Auto Context. Then you can manually choose exactly which context you want to work with. Personally, I think Auto mode feels smooth because it lets you work directly in the context you are already in. That was context. But we also have profiles. Right now, the profile list is empty. If we add a slot, OctoPie automatically creates the first profile for us. We can always rename it. Let's call this one Master Pie. Now, when we invoke the Pie menu with Q, you can see that it is called Pie 1 Master Pie. You can also change this in the Behavior tab. You can choose to show only the profile name, or if you only want to show the Pie number, you can choose that instead. I prefer showing the profile name, so I will switch it back to Profile. You can also turn the name off completely, but we will keep it on Profile. Let's start with the first slot. We add a module. There are several modules available here. The first one is Operator. It already says Add Camera from the previous search, but we can type Add Cube, for example. What happens now is that the target is set to Add Cube, and we automatically get a name and icon up here. The icon can always be changed, but since the operator is called Add Cube, OctoPie first sorts all add-related icons, followed by all cube-related icons. You can always search manually and choose another icon if you want. Let's choose Cube here. Now we can spawn a cube into the scene. We can rename the button to something simpler, like Cube. If the name field is empty, OctoPie uses the automatic name from the module. If you type a single space, the name is hidden completely, and only the icon is shown. You can also hide the icon by holding Alt while clicking the icon. Everything is documented with helpful tooltips on Hover. Now you can see that we get a completely empty button. Control-click resets the icon back to the automatic icon based on the name. Then we have Props. This is a filtered list of properties that belong to the operator. You can also type these manually, but having a filtered list makes the process much easier for everyday use. Let's set the location to, for example, 2 on the Z-axis. You can Alt-click the operator search icon to toggle the info editor on and off. Let's select everything and clear the window to keep things simple. If we add Suzanne, we can copy the operator directly from the info editor. Control-click on the search icon pastes in what we have copied. This is also documented in the tooltip. Alt-click the toggles to turn the info editor on and off. One more thing worth showing is why we have the behavior drop-down inside the operator module. Let's say we want to create a button that rotates the selected object 45 degrees on the Z-axis. We can copy this operator from the info editor as well. As you can see, Rotate now performs a static 45-degree rotation on the Z-axis. But if we set it to Dynamic, it still starts with a 45-degree rotation, but then keeps the operator live afterward. That might not make much sense for a 45-degree rotation, But if we remove the props, you can see that sometimes it is ideal to let an operator run dynamically. The next module on the list is shortcuts. A shortcut can be used to simulate any shortcut that exists in Blender. If you have plugins with a lot of shortcuts that you do not want to memorize, this module might be perfect for you. Let's test it with Shift-S, which opens Blender's native Snap menu. We can simply rename it to Snap, or we can use Shift-A for the native Add Mesh menu. Another option is to simulate parts of the keyboard that you might not have access to. For example, if your keyboard does not have a numpad, you can easily simulate numpad keys with a Pi menu. Let's use Numpad 5, which toggles orthographic view. The next module on the list is Menus. This is very similar to operators, except here we search through Blender's native menus. These are also filtered by context. You can always turn that off using the blue button in the left corner. Let's choose the Mesh menu here. Now you can see that the Mesh menu is attached to this button, but we can always change the behavior. We have Detached. This means you have to physically click the button to open the menu. Inline Column. This brings the menu into the Pi menu as an integrated column. It does not look that exciting right now, but you will see later how important this option can become. The next module on the list is Scripts. In my opinion, Scripts is the most powerful module in OctoPie, especially now that we can use AI to write very specific scripts that perform very specific operations in your workflow. You click the Edit button to edit an existing script from the drop-down, or if the list is empty, OctoPie creates a new one. Here we can write a script ourselves, or we can simply ask an AI to help us write it. In this example, I asked it to create a script that spawns 10 cubes in a circle, just because it is visually easy to understand. But this could be anything. For example, in edit mode, you could create actions that help clean up topology, automate repetitive tasks, or anything else your imagination allows. Remember to always save the script in the script editor, so it is stored locally. Let's rename the script for better structure. If we choose it in the Pi menu now, it spawns 10 cubes. The great thing about scripts is that if we click the settings icon here, we can see that every script we create is stored in a local folder on the computer. This makes it easy to keep scripts for later use or share them with others. In this drop-down, you always have access to every script stored in that local folder. The next module on the list is Assets. This is also a very powerful module because it lets you build libraries from assets you already have access to in Blender's asset browser. Objects, collections, nodes, and more. If we click the Asset Browser icon, we can toggle the Asset Browser editor on and off. You select an asset and use the Import button in the N panel. Now you can see that we have added the arrow object as an asset. Let's toggle the Asset Browser off again. When we open the Pi menu now, we have an asset that can easily be spawned into the project. Right now, the behavior is set to static. That means the asset spawns on a selected object, or between two or more selected objects. If nothing is selected, the 3D cursor decides where it spawns. Let's set the behavior to Dynamic. Dynamic lets us place the object directly in the scene. Now let's create a completely new profile. As you can see, our Pi menu can easily change and switch between an unlimited number of profiles. With this new profile, let's add the two final modules, which are both made for organization. The first organization module is List. With lists, you can build large libraries of functions and easily invoke menus from a single Pi button. We can also change the behavior from attached to detached. Let's quickly rename the list to Cool List. Or even better, maybe we should rename it to Assets. We can also make the list inline. So let's add a few more slots, just to see how a list can work as part of a full Pi setup. We can also set it to display as a row. A list can contain all the modules we have already gone through. That means we can build large libraries of our assets, scripts, operators, menus, shortcuts, or any other functionality. The final module on the list is Pie menu. This lets us invoke a new Pie menu from another Pie menu. Let's start by adding a new Pie menu. Now let's fill it with 8 slots. This works exactly like the list module. So now we have a Pie menu with a Pie slot that invokes a completely new Pie menu. What makes this interesting is that the Pie menu module is built around the same profile system we have already worked with. That means we can easily choose a profile we have already built, like Master Pie. In the icon picker, you can control-click any icons you like. This saves them as favorites, so you can quickly find them again by clicking the star icon in the top right corner. You can also open preferences and enable loose-side icons and local icons. This gives you access to even more icons and lets you use your own custom icons on the buttons in your Pie menu. What makes OctoPie unique is that you can build specialized tools for your exact workflow. But you can also share your setup with others, your team, your subscribers, or even a friend. To export a profile, click Profile Edit, choose Export Profile, and save it wherever you want. To import one, choose Import Profile from the same drop-down. This only imports and exports the current profile. But if you have a larger setup with multiple Pie menus, scripts, and important content, you should use Backup. Backup lets you store your entire OctoPie system outside the add-on. Let's reset the add-on to demonstrate how this works. There's also a safety check built in, so you don't accidentally wipe all your settings. When importing a full backup, you'll get the same safety check, because it overwrites all current settings in the project. The Import button takes you directly to the backup folder. You can also export your full setup to any destination you choose. Note, this does not export script folders or local icons. I hope this helps showcase how powerful OctoPie can become in your workflow. Here, your imagination is the only real limit. So go out, create, share profiles, and build full OctoPie setups.